Hello, friends. Here, just testing, make sure the mic sounds good. Give me a second. Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Alright, so, yeah, a little impromptu live stream. I haven't done one of these organizing videos in a really long time. There just hasn't been good opportunity to do it, but there was tonight, or this afternoon, so I figured I'd hop on and add some books into some categories, and yeah, it'd be fun. Hi, Audrey. Hello, hello. How are you doing? Hopefully you're excited for the weekend and are gonna have either a fun one or a relaxing one or whatever you wish it to be. Maybe you can go to an indie bookstore or something. Hello, Liz. Welcome. Hi. Yeah, I was just planning on doing. I hope you're good. I was just planning on doing some updating on my organizing books into categories. I haven't done it for a while. We're in 2020, so lots to do, but I figured I'd also go over the last several books that I read, which is not that many. It would not take long. Yes, I'm glad you're here. I know I missed you at the last one. I just haven't had many opportunities to stream lately, so I'm glad today worked out. I think the last book I did talk about was Rose Daughter, but I have not been reading a ton, but I've been reading a little bit. And I'm going to try to read a lot the next week and actually finish my magical readathon TBR. But I did DNF. This was one of the oldest books on my TBR. I had it on my Goodreads since 2013 or something, or 2014, whenever it came out, by Scott Westerfield, and I got 6% of the way in and I DNF'd it. It starts with a really violent, terrorist attack where everybody dies in this airport, and it was just not enjoyable reading for me. And I don't know. I could have kept going with it. I could have pushed my way through and see if I could have gotten more into it, but I just didn't feel like it. I reread A Room with a View for the, I don't know, 10th time or something. This is one of my comfort reads. I read it whenever I'm in a slump. I love this book by E.M. Forster. If you don't know what this one's about, it's about a girl who is spending time in Italy on vacation, and it ends up being a romance by the end, but it's it's her spending some time in Italy and meeting people that she never would have met, and then going home and how that resonates through her life. And I just love it so much, and I love the character so much, and I really love the movie from the 80s as well. Oh, The Hollow Places. Yeah, it's right behind me on the bookshelf. I hope you love it. Oh, that book's so good. I also reread Dealing with Dragons by Patricia C. Reedy, one of my favorite books of all time, that I first read when I was 10, and I've read it I don't know, over 20 times because I read it obsessively when I was a child. I really like Forster, but it's the only book I've read by him. I need to read his others, And it's like, I love A Room with a View so much. I'm like scared to read his other books, but I really want to read gosh, the one that came out in the 70s. That was published post-mortem. I really want to read that one. Maurice. I was thinking Maury, and I was like, that's not what it's called. Maurice, I really, really want to read. 1971. And yeah, he died in 1970, and then they published it after because it's a gay book, and it wasn't like would not have, I don't know, I guess he didn't feel comfortable publishing it beforehand, but it's supposed to be like really incredible. I really want to read that. Passage to India, we've already been over in one of these before, that I'm very excited about reading. Machine Stops, like, yeah, I have a bunch of his on my like list that I really want to read. So yes, Howard's End, which I've seen the movie too, but it was so long ago, I really don't remember it. I actually don't even know if I've seen the whole thing. And it was very, very boring, the movie, so, which I do not blame on the book at all. But yeah, Maurice is definitely the one that I'm like, I think is at the top of my list. But as like far as excitement, but I'm not sure which one I'm gonna read next. But I want to read more, but I'm like afraid to, because I just read A Room with a View over and over and over. But reread Dealing with Dragons and love it so much. I read Leech, which was so fun. I talked about it a little bit last time, I think, where it's like, it's horror, like post apocalyptic. So it's like the apocalypse is over, but an apocalypse did happen, and it's in way far in the future, and like society is like rebuilding, but they've like lost a lot of information, and then you're following like a hive mind, and like it's just like a lot going on, and it's very like soft and calm as well, and like I don't know, I really, really liked it. I loved the atmosphere in it, but I didn't love the second half as much as the first half, which is why I got 4 stars. But if we were going full solely off of how much I loved the first half, it would be like a favorite of all time. Like, I was obsessed. But I really, really liked it, and I'm definitely excited to try Hiron's other book, The Works of Vermin. Definitely excited to read that one now. Your Shadow Half Remains by Sunny Moraine. I only got 50% of the way into this, and it's a 163-page novella. I just really wasn't vibing with it. It's about this girl it's about this pandemic, sort of. Like, it is a pandemic, so basically people can't look at each other in the eyes, or they like go crazy and like beat each other to death. So now everybody's just like living reclusively, and everything's run by robots, and she hasn't seen anybody in years, and she's living very isolated, and then somebody moves very close to her, so she's starting to have like a relationship with somebody and conversations with somebody that she hasn't had in years. She's very, very slow, middle of this like epidemic thing going on, and I just wasn't vibing with it, so I put it down. I didn't realize the ratings were so low. Oof. The Library at Hellebore by Cassandra Khaw. The ratings on this are also really low, 3.09, and I give it 2 stars, so I'm not helping with the rating. But I really love Cassandra Khaw, and I was devastated that I didn't like this book. I have read 2 other books by Cassandra Khaw, Nothing But Black and Teeth, which I gave 4 stars, and The Salt Goes Heavy, which I gave 5 stars and is one of my favorite books. I really want to reread it though. So I was devastated I didn't like this one. It's like I guess like a dark academia, but it's, yeah, it made me think of A Deadly Education a little bit. But I just feel like it was just like unnecessarily brutal and gruesome and meandering, and I don't know, it just didn't feel like it felt like it could have been tightened up and been more punchy. Um and the main character is just constantly telling you how like badass she is and how much of a bad person she is and how like fucked up she is, and like because it's like written in like first person, and she's like, I'm so bad, I'm so mean, I'm so blah blah blah, like, and it just got so repetitive, and it's like maybe I would have believed you if you said it a couple times, but after the 80th time that you told me, I don't believe you anymore. I think you're like trying to convince yourself more than me. Like, I don't know, it just felt very like I don't know if even this is the right word. Twee. No, that's not the right word. Excessively no, that's not the right word. But it felt very, maybe just the excessive part is why I was thinking of that. It felt just very, just too much. Like, I feel like if it had been cut in half, if it had been a novella, it could have been much more effective. It got very, I felt like it felt very dragged out. Okay, I'll stop talking about it. If you want to know what it's about this girl who gets kidnapped because she has magical powers. So she gets kidnapped and then put in this school, and it's about her experiences in the school. This magical school. Okay, Strange Buildings by Yuketsu. This is the second book in the series, the Strange Houses series. I really liked this one. I liked it better than Strange Houses. So it's a bunch of, so Strange Houses is a couple houses that have like odd layouts, and then somebody is kind of figuring out, and they're kind of connected, and they're figuring out like why the floor plan is off and weird. This instead is a bunch of different buildings. So Lonely Hut in the Wood, a murder house, a hidden chamber, a mysterious shrine, a home in flames, a nightmarish prison. And it's, what are they? And they all kind of start to come together in this connected way as you're reading through. So the first couple you're like, okay, and then by the end you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then you still are getting like the floor plans and seeing how like they're just kind of off and weird, and I actually ended up really liking it. They are quite dark though. I wouldn't really, I don't know that I would really call them horror. I know they're classified as horror. I would maybe say that they're just like really dark mystery thriller kind of books. But they get classified as horror, so maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. But I really enjoyed both of these, but I liked the second one like substantially more than the first one. I reread Hold Me by Courtney Milan. This is I think the first book about a trans person I ever read back in 2019ish, I think. Yeah, I read it in 2019, and I wanted to reread it, and I really liked it still. I didn't love it as much as the first time I read it, but I think it really holds up. I think one of the things that I really ended up liking about this one. So it's about this girl who writes like this blog, this like disaster blog online where she writes like futuristic disasters and like how the world might end. And so she is like very into science and stuff and like comes up with all these things, and it has a huge readership. She makes enough money off of it that she's like can support herself, like her living through college, but it's not like enough to, you know, be like a full-time job for her. And then she's been having this, it's like very You've Got Mail. She's been having these conversations with this guy, and she ends up meeting one of her brother's best friends, that he's like known throughout college. She ends up moving closer to her brother, and so she ends up meeting one of her brother's best friends, and they don't end up finding this out till later, but you know from the beginning, that he's the person that she's been messaging, but he is like an asshole to her, and so then they are like really butting heads and do not get along. But it's very much this You've Got Mail thing where they're like constantly talking and stuff, and then discover each other's identity. But I think the thing that I especially really love about this is that her transness is not the focus of the story in any way. It's not the crux of the story in any way. It's not the conflict. It's just a thing about the character. And like, yeah, she's had issues in her past. Like, she has some issues with her family revolving around it and stuff. But her issues with him have nothing to do with her transness at all, or anything like that. And I think that's very nice. I think it's just like a cozy trans book, and I think that's good. I think that's one of the reasons that it's just like, it's a very nice trans story, that it's like, and like it talks about trans issues, and it feels sucky to have to like use this word, but it's like very humanizing of trans people, where it's like but I feel like that is the thing to say, since they're dehumanized so much. But it's like but I just like that it's like always a very safe space with him about like that. Anyway, I really liked it, and I definitely like a science contemporary romance, or a science romance in general. I really liked some of the other books by Courtney Milan that are also science focused. I think the third book, the Countess Conspiracy, I remember this one, the main character in it is like a botanist, and I really, really liked that one. I enjoy books where like the characters are scientists in romances. Okay. Okay, A Slow Time Between the Stars by John Scalzi. I did not like this one. This was definitely one of my least favorite things I've read by John Scalzi. It's one of the short stories in the Far Reaches collection. It was very, very short. And it's just about an AI star spanning mission. So it's like this ship that is intended to go find planets that could be inhabitable for humans, and then it's supposed to make them habitable. So it's like they can already support life, they already have like oxygen and water and like things, it's like close but not there, and then it's supposed to make them habitable and then grow humans on it. But then it's about it deciding to not keep in contact with the humans. It's like, I'm not gonna, I don't know, it decides to buck what it's supposed to do. I listened to this with Chris because we were going to be in the car together for like an hour, and I was like, let's listen to the short story together. And so it was nice that we actually got to talk to each other a little bit about it at the end, because I was like, I don't understand, like, I think this was really stupid. And he was like, yeah, like, I think because of this, this, and this. And I was like, but that's still really stupid. And he was like, yeah, it was really stupid. And then we moved on. Like, it was nice to have somebody to discuss it with, because it was stupid. Anyway, I didn't like it, but apparently other people liked it. I think it was stupid, though. And Cold Comfort Farm by Stella Gibbons. I finally read it. It's been on my list for ages. It was one of the oldest books on my TBR, so I'm slowly working my way through them. And it was very funny. Definitely this, like, humor from, like, the 20s and 30s definitely tickles my funny bone. I think there were just, like, a lot of really great one-liners in this, but it's about this very young lady, she's, like, 19, who, her parents have just died, and so she's like, instead of getting a job, I'm just gonna go write to all my relatives and see if one of them will take me in. Because I don't want to work. Which is, like, fair. And so one of her relatives, or several of her relatives, are like, yeah, we will. But she decides to go to this, one of them, which is Cold Comfort Farm. And she's like, I intend to change them so that they fit what I want. Like, I don't like the idea of, like, living on a farm and living with, like, a dirty house and living with this and this. So I'm gonna change them to, like, fit my mold. And she goes in with this intention, and it's just, I think, going in with, like, the thought that it's this very young character who's, like, very selfish and very immature, I think helps. But it was very funny, and I just had a good time, like, laughing along to it. It's very, very silly, very funny, and it definitely had some, like, outdated humor. It was very fat phobic, but I had a really good time with it, and I don't know, I think there was also some very questionable, like, mental health representation, and I don't know, but I just, like, the one-liners, I was just chuckling. We have a physical copy, and I was, like, grabbing it and, like, coming and reading sections of it to Chris. I was like, listen to this line, or, like, this is the context of this, listen to this. And he was just like, what is this book? This is so silly. Anyway, I had a good time with it. So those are all the books that I've read recently. Okay. So now, the last time that I decided to categorize books, we had gotten to July 2020, and then I haven't done it since, so I figured we would do that. And yeah, I don't know, unless you prefer me to do something else, but I just thought it would be fun to finally do this. So the plan is to catalog them into genre, into season, and then delete as many as possible to whittle down my TBR. It's currently at 1919, but I have so many books I want to add to my TBR and haven't, that the goal is to always keep it under 2,000, though. I think that's a good goal. Okay, The Blacksmith Queen by G.A. Aiken. I've read one other book by this author, and I really liked it. It's fantasy romance. but I added this in 2020, so I don't remember what it's about. Okay, when a prophecy brings war to the land of the Black Hills, Keely Smythe must join forces with a clan of mountain warriors who are really centaurs in a thrilling new fantasy romance series. Ooh, the old king is dead. With the demise of the old king, there's a prophecy that the queen will ascend to the throne of the Black Hills. Bad news for the king's sons, who are prepared to defend their birthright against all comers. But for blacksmith Keely Smythe, war is great for business. Until it looks like the chosen queen will be Beatrix, her younger sister. Now, it's all Keely can do to protect her family from the enraged royals. Luckily, Keely doesn't have to fight alone, because thundering to her aid comes a clan of kilt-wearing mountain warriors called the Amichai. Not the most socially adept group, but soldiers have never bothered Keely, and gruff Cade actually seems to respect her. A good thing, because the fierce warrior will be at her side for a much longer ride than any prophecy ever envisioned. That actually sounds fun. I would totally give that a try. But I always like to scroll through at least what my friends have said, and I think there's a good balance. I mean, it would be better if there were not bad ratings, but there's some good ratings as well. So, and I did really like the other one by this author that I read. Oh wait, no, this is not the author I was thinking of. Actually, I've read a book by this author and I didn't like it. So never mind, I take that back. This is not the author I was thinking of. I've read too many books, you guys. I've lost the plot. I gave this DNF this one at 25%. God knows why. So it does still sound fun though, and I'm still gonna give it a try. So it's fantasy, romance, paranormal. Okay. Fantasy, romance. This feels very fit for all seasons, I feel like. I feel like this could be fun during the summer, but then also during the winter. Okay. A Brief History of the World by Peter N. Stearns. Oh, this does not have high ratings for one of these. And some of his other ones have really low ratings too. Interesting. Just wanted to read about them really quick. So this is one of the great courses, and I've read several of them, and I do like them, but that's a pretty low rating. I think I don't know. I don't feel like this was probably worth reading if it's not gonna be an amazing course. I think I'm just gonna delete that one. And also, it's from 2007, and I feel like something more recent would probably be better. Okay, The Relentless Moon by Mary Robinette Kowal. This is the third book in the Lady Astronaut series. I've read the first two, gave the first one 5 stars, gave the second one 4 stars. Really like it. Was up to date when this one came out, and then now there's a fourth one that just came out last year. So I feel like I should just read these two, and then I'll either be up to date, or I don't know if there's another one coming out. I'll either finish the series or be up to date. But I think I read this one in like 2019 maybe, so I don't think this one had come out yet. And now it has, and I still never read it. But I want to, because I really, really liked the other ones. Science fiction. It's like an alternate history. I'm not going to read what it's about because I don't want you to get spoiled, but it's an alternate history. So basically, I think it's like the 50s. And I think a meteor is going to hit Earth. So they're like, oh, well, we need to really advance space travel and get it so that people can leave Earth, because everything on Earth is gonna die again. It's gonna be the same as like the dinosaurs. And so the main character is a scientist, but she's like fighting to become a lady astronaut. Unlike in the 60s when there were no lady astronauts, this time they're gonna need them because reproduction. Anyway, I really, really liked this though. Yeah, alternate history. Really, really enjoyed it. So it is historical, but there's no like sci-fi elements except for the fact that it's an alternate history. And that things are moving at a faster pace than they did initially. Historical fiction, sci-fi. This feels like a wintry, springy book to me, I think. I always want to read books about space in the winter. And one last thing by Molly Harper. Okay, if single trees only florist didn't deliver her posies half drunk, I might still be married to the floor-licking, scum-sucking, receptionist-nailing, hack-accounting Mike Terwilliger? What the fuck? Okay. Lacey Terwinger's shock and humiliation over her husband's philandering prompt her to add some bonus material to Mike's company newsletter. Stunning Technicolor descriptions of the special brand of administrative support his receptionist gives him. The detailed mass email to Mike's family, friends, and clients blows up in her face, and before she can say instant urban legend, Lacey has become the pariah of her small Kentucky town. Media punchline and the defendant in Mike's defamation lawsuit. Her seemingly perfect life up in flames, Lacey retreats to her family's lakeside cabin only to encounter an aggravating neighbor named Monroe, a hunky crime novelist with a low tolerance for drama. Monroe is not thrilled about a newly divorced woman moving in next door, but with time, beer, and a screen door to the nose, a cautious friendship develops into something infinitely more satisfying. Okay, so I really, really, really love Molly Harper's paranormal books, but I don't think I care about her fantasy. And I really love her paranormal books. I mean, I've given a lot of them 2 and 3 stars, but I've given quite a few of them like 4 stars as well. So, Nice Girls Don't Have Things, the first book in the James Jameson series. Love it. Would recommend the whole James Jameson series. Then it follows into the Half Moon Hollow series after that. I really liked the Mystic Bayou series. I've read the Naked Werewolf series, How to Flirt with a Naked Werewolf, and I liked that. So I've read a lot of her books. I've probably read like well over 20 of her books, but I don't think I'm interested in that. I think I could count my losses on a contemporary romance published in 2010. Okay, Anthropology and the Study of Humanity by Scott M. Lacey. Have I read anything else by this author? No, and they don't have anything else. And there's no author bio. Okay, it's a 12-hour podcast. Okay, well, not podcast, but lecture. What does it mean to be human? Where do we come from? And what unites us in our diversity today? Anthropology and a Study of Humanity is your chance to take these big questions as you survey one of the world's most engaging and human sciences. Taught by acclaimed professor and field researcher Scott M. Lacey of Fairfield University. Professor Lacey gives you an elegant blend of history and application to help you understand this extraordinary interdisciplinary field as a whole. You'll examine how humans evolved and built civilizations, review humanity's changing attitude about our relationship to the cosmos, and consider the many ways we express ourselves in the end. In the end, what you'll discover is that while our species is rich with diversity, we are all one human race. Oh, sorry. I accidentally closed the chat thing. I didn't see what you said, Audrey, but I see it now. Sometimes I have a good memory. I think for the most part I do have a very good memory of books that I read a long time ago, but it depends. I think I did have a good memory, and then there are a lot of books that I read like just during certain portions of my life that I do not retain very well. But I would say for the most part, I am pretty good at that. Chris does comment on that a lot, where he's like, how do you remember that? Like, you read that so long ago, or like, things like that. So, I do really like the great courses. I think this one would still be an interesting one to read. It has a lot of 2 stars though, and that makes me worried. But I don't know. I've loved so many of them. I think I'm gonna keep this one on my list, and if I try it and don't end up enjoying it, then that's fine and I can stop. And I will add it to, I don't know. See, but this one that has like a 4.19 compared to this one, which has like a 3.85, which I know like a Goodreads like average rating is not something to go off of necessarily, but I have already read from Robert Garland. I really liked his lecture, The Other Side of History, Daily Life in the Ancient World. I feel like it is important with nonfiction that the rating be higher a lot of the time. So I think I will just delete this one and cut my losses. I don't know. I feel bad, but I shouldn't. That's the point of this, is like weeding stuff out. Okay. But I'll definitely keep this other Robert Garland one, Greece and Rome, an integrated history of the ancient Mediterranean. And I don't even care what this is about. I'll still read it because I have already liked something by this author, and I really like some of the great courses that I've read. So I'm not even going to read it. Okay, this next one. The Fires of Vesuvius, Pompeii Lost and Found by Mary Beard. Oh, interesting. Okay. Interesting that it's by Mary Beard. Pompeii is the most famous archaeological site in the world, visited by more than 2 million people each year, yet it is also one of the most puzzling, with an intriguing and sometimes violent history from the 6th century BCE to the present day. Destroyed by Vesuvius in 79 CE, the ruins of Pompeii offer the best evidence we have of life in the Roman Empire. But the eruptions are only part of the story. In The Fires of Vesuvius, acclaimed historian Mary Beard makes sense of the remains. She explores what kind of town in Wassa, more like Calcutta, I don't think that's right. She explores what kind of town it was. Was it more like Calcutta or the Coast del Sol? And was it and what it can tell us about ordinary life there, from sex to politics, food to religion, slavery to literacy. Beard offers us the big picture, even as she takes us close enough to the past to smell the bad breath and see the intestinal tapeworms of the inhabitants of the lost city. She resurrects the temple of Isis as a testament of ancient multiculturalism. At the suburban baths, we go from communal bathing to hygiene to erotica. Recently, Pompeii has been a focus of pleasure, from Pink Floyd's memorable rock concert to Primo Levi's elegy on the victims. But Pompeii still does not give up its secrets quite as easily as it may seem. This book shows us how much more and less there is to Pompeii than a city frozen in time as it went about its business on 24th of August, 79. Interesting. Yeah, I definitely want to read this. I don't think I have actually read anything else by Mary Beard, but she is supposed to be one of like the best like nonfiction writers. Oh, I did not even remember that I read SPQR. See, I don't remember the plots of books because I don't even remember that I read this. When did I read this? Was it in like 2019? It was in 2020. See, I'm like, anything I read in the year 2020 from start to finish is gobbledygook. And that's not just books that I read after the pandemic started. That's books before the pandemic too. My brain was not doing well that year. See? Okay, so that's the only book I've read by her. Now I don't remember it at all. I've also thought about reading her book, one of her more recent books. Maybe it wasn't. I remember when this one came out, Women in Power. I was working at the indie bookstore at the time, and it was very popular. Okay. So let's add this one, Greece and Rome, to nonfiction other, and I feel like that can be an all-time read, and same with this one. I just saw this video about like a AI slop video that, so I didn't actually like see the AI video. Like any AI that does come up on like anything online, I always like block the accounts. But I saw a video come up where someone was like, "Did you see this history video about this like AI history video?" And they're like, "Let's go through and show you how like everything it says and shows is wrong, and how like even when it's making something that might be really visually fun, it's still lying to you and giving you all this misinformation." And it was like specifically about Pompeii and Mount Vesuvius. And it had like the video that I'm talking about today has 13 million views. So 13 million people watched this video about Mount Vesuvius and Pompeii and just learned a bunch of misinformation. So that's lovely. I love AI so much. Okay, Beyond the Highland Mist by Karen Marie Moning. I think I should probably just delete this one. I tried to read another Karen Marie Moning, Dark Fever. I've just deleted it because I was not vibing with it. I might try it again in the future, but I just feel like maybe she might not be the author for me, but let's try it. It's time travel. Let's give it a read. He would sell his warrior soul to possess her. Is that my Scottish accent? An alluring laird. He was known. He was known throughout. I'm so sorry. Okay, he was known throughout the kingdom as Hawk, legendary predator of the battlefield, and the boudoir. Is that just okay? No woman could refuse his touch, and no woman ever stirred his heart until a vengeful fairy tumble, Adrienne de Simone, out of modern day Seattle and into medieval Scotland, captive in a century not her own, entirely too bold, too outspoken. She was an irresistible challenge to the 16th century rogue. Coerced into marriage with Hawke, Adrienne vowed to keep him at arm's length, but his sweet seduction played havoc with her resolve. A prisoner in time, she had a perfect no on her perfect lips for the notorious Laird, but Hawke swore she would whisper his name with desire, begging for the passion he longed to ignite within her. Not even the barriers of time and space would keep him from winning her love, despite her uncertainty about following the promptings of her own passionate heart. Adrienne's reservations were no match for Hawke's determined to keep her by his side. This is interesting. It came out in March 1999. When did Outlander came out? Because I can only imagine this must have been a reaction to Outlander. I feel like Outlander must have come out a few years before this. Oh, 1991. So maybe not a super intensive reaction, but like time traveling Scottish, like, okay. Yeah, I don't think I want to read that. I think I will be perfectly happy without that in my life. I feel like if I tried to read that, I would probably DNF it. But this book, which doesn't have super high ratings, I really want to read. Isn't this cover so pretty? I want to find a better, more up close look. Oh no, I don't want to look at shopping. Ooh, yeah. Isn't this so cool? What a pretty cover. But maybe I won't want to read it. superintelligence, paths, dangers, strategies. Okay, let's read what it's about. Superintelligence asks the questions: what happens when machines surpass humans in general intelligence? Oh, this is from 2014. Interesting. Will artificial agents save or destroy us? Nick Bostrom lays the foundation for understanding the future of humanity and intelligent life. The human brain has some capabilities that brains of other animals lack. It is to these distinctive capabilities that our species owes its dominant position. If machine brains surpass human brains in general intelligence, then its new superintelligence could become extremely powerful. Possibly, I feel like I thought this was about animals because of the bird on the cover, and it's not. I'm very sad now. See, this is why I need to read what they're about, because I would have picked this up thinking it was about owls. Okay. If machine brains surpass human brains in general intelligence, the new superintelligence could become extremely powerful, possibly beyond our control. As the fate of the gorillas now depend more on humans than on the species itself, so would the fate of humankind depend on the actions of the machine superintelligence. But we have one advantage. We could get to make the first move. Will it be possible to construct a seed artificial intelligence to engineer initial conditions so as to make an intelligence explosion survivable? How could one achieve a controlled detonation? I don't think I care about reading that, but I'm so sad there's a bird because I want to read about owls. Okay, I feel like that made me sound very stupid. Okay, I will be deleting that. Abaddon's Gate. I don't know why I said Grace. Abaddon's Gate by James S.A. Corey. Third book in the Expanse series. I gave the first book 4 stars, and then a novella 3 stars, and then the second book 4 stars, and then a novella 3 stars, and then another novella 4 stars. So I've really liked this series so far, but I find it incredibly intimidating because there's 9 freaking books and lots of novellas, and I don't know. I feel like it's hard to pick up. It's hard to pick up knowing that each of these books is like 700 pages, like 500 to 700 pages, and then on top of that, it's there's 9 books in the series. So I don't know. The third book, I don't want to read this aloud, but I'm like, which one is this one about? Okay, so I did really like the first one, Leviathan Wakes. It's like, if I had to describe it, it's way more horror than I thought it would be going in. So as somebody who did not read horror at all at the time, I read this in, I want to say 2017, maybe? Very much more horror than I thought. And it was almost like a noir mystery. So it's like a noir mystery with like a horror element, for parts of it, not the whole thing, but just like a little section. But yeah, it's like a noir detective was kind of the vibe, which was interesting, and that's what I remember about this. The first book, Leviathan Wakes, but I did really like it. I don't think I would need to reread it because I feel like they are pretty distinct. Like the first book didn't like follow the same characters or anything, but maybe I would just like read summaries of the first and second book to read the third book. So I think I will try to read this one, but also it is like very intimidating to continue. The Mercy of Gods, I think, Oh yeah, the Captives War. I did see this recently. I was looking at this a little bit recently because I was like, oh god, they've started a new series. I was like, ah. Well, I'm definitely not touching this until I either DNF the other series or finish it because I cannot. But I did like the other ones that I read quite a bit. I just got very overwhelmed. And I even read those, like Leviathan Wakes and stuff, when I was not reading sci-fi at all. One of the first, like, proper sci-fi books I ever read in my whole life. And I really liked it, so I do think it's interesting. Abaddon's Gate, I'm gonna put it as sci-fi. I think I'm just gonna put it as sci-fi. And it's a winter book to me. That's when I read the first book too. I wonder if that's why I associate sci-fi so much with winter, is because one of the very first sci-fi books I ever read was the first book in the series. Sorry, I'm just making conclusions and thinking about why I think certain things. But one of the very first sci-fi books I ever read was this book in December 2017, and I read it in like winter. I read it over like Christmas, and I remember like finishing it and listening to it on a plane back from my family for Christmas and stuff. So it's very like one of the first sci-fi books I ever read in winter. I wonder if this is why I'm like subconsciously always wanting to read sci-fi in winter, always listen to or always like watch sci-fi movies in winter. I wonder if that's really true. I don't know if it is, but that would be interesting. Was there something about series? Oldest sequels is where I was putting old sequels. That's right, I forgot about that. Okay. And then I can finally delete this one. I was just trying to get books off of so they weren't going onto this old page. Which is exciting. The only reason books were ending up on that old page is because I read books. And so then things were getting moved off the TBR. Okay. I've been chugging water because I've been talking so much. So now I have to go to the bathroom so badly. So I'm going to take a quick, like, 2-minute break. Just go to the bathroom really quick. Stretch your legs. I'll be right back. am back. I'm so glad I'm doing this. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you being here, and even if you're watching a replay, I appreciate it. I just love y'all so much, and this is so fun. Thank you. Because sometimes I do some of this on my own, or I have, but it's just so much more fun with you. And I appreciate, like, when I come across a book and there's, like, feedback, or you're like, oh my gosh, I've read that one, or, like, that's been on my TBR for a million years, and, like, stuff like that. And it's just, like, it's good times. Okay. A History of Magic, Witchcraft, and the Occult by Susanna Lipscomb. A lavishly illustrated history of witchcraft, magic, and the occult, from Paleolithic cave rituals to Wicca and modern paganism. It charts the extraordinary narrative of one of the most interesting and often controversial subjects in the world, from ancient animal worship and shamanism through alchemy and divination to modern Wicca and the resurgence of the occult in the 21st century literature, movies, and television. Providing a comprehensive, balanced, and unbiased account of everything from Japanese folklore to Indian witchcraft to the differences between black and white magic, dispelling myths such as those surrounding the voodoo doll and Ouija. The book explores the common human fear and the fascination with spells, superstitions, and the supernatural. The perfect introduction to magic and the occult, it explores forms of divination from astrology and palmistry to the tarot and rune stones, mystical plants and potions such as mandrake, and the presence of witchcraft in literature from Macbeth to Harry Potter, and the ways in which magic has interacted with mainstream religions. The most comprehensive illustrated history of witchcraft available. A History of Magic. Is this a DK book? Yeah, it's a DK book. A history, blah blah blah, will enthrall and fascinate you with its lavish, illustrated, and accessible entries, whether you are a believer or a skeptic. You don't comment on a lot, but we have a very different TBR, so you don't recognize much. That's okay. You're fine, Audrey. But I just appreciate you hanging out and vibing. It's good times. I think I still do want to read this. And kind of like my limit with things referencing Harry Potter is like 2022. Or it's like, because publishing industry is slow and like things like that. That's kind of like the rate where I'm like, okay, around 2022, that's about the time when I'm like sick of this shit. But this book came out like only like a couple months after she started being crappy. Like these books were probably already actually physically printed by that time. So I don't mind that. Although it's like, ugh. I think this sounds interesting to read. I think it's just a fun little it'll be a fun little overview. For sure I'll go with it. So history, other, I wonder, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna put it in fantasy because it's not like a fantasy story. Even though it's about fantasy, it's not actually, it's nonfiction about fantasy. Oh, I forgot to put it in a time. I feel like this is very autumnal, a good thing to read in the fall. Okay, The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. I kind of hate myself a little bit for not having read this yet because I really, really loved the first book so much and then have never continued on. I've even read the first book twice and then I've never continued on. I don't know why. I don't know why I do this. So I really need to read this book. It's definitely on my TBR. I'm not going to read what it's about, but the first book in the Scholomance series is the main character is living in it's very much a little bit similar vibes to Library of Hellebore, which I was just talking about earlier, read and really didn't like. But this one I love. About somebody who is going to a magical school where it's trying to kill you. The creatures outside the school are trying to kill you, and students are just trying to like survive through graduation, is what I remember. And I think people had an issue with the main character being a little unlikable or something. I loved her, so I don't know. Fantasy, romance, and horror is where it says to put it. Let's do that. And then oldest sequels. Fantasy, horror, romance, very autumnal, but also I just want to read it anytime, so I'm going to put it in all of them. I could just see myself reading this whenever. Okay. Trial by Desire by Courtney Milan. Ooh. Okay, so I've read almost every Courtney Milan book, I would say. But there's a few that I haven't. This is one of the few. Okay. We're going by popularity. I've read all of these. I haven't read the book Who Didn't, which came out in 2020. I haven't read these two, Trial by Desire, Carhartt, and this one from 2018, After the Wedding. So there's 3 Courtney Milan books I haven't read. And the next book in the Worth Saga. Okay, so there's a few more down here that are a little less. And then that's all of the books that are been published, because I think the other ones are like box sets and things like that. Tiny little novellas that I think are hard to get, things like that. This book never came out, which I'm gut-wrenchingly sad about. I think a lot of these books down here never actually came out. Yeah, like this is from 2021. I already want to read it, and then it like I don't think it ever came out, and people never actually got to read these. So like I have read probably like 80% of Courtney Milan's books. This is one of the few ones I haven't read, and the ratings are not high. So let's see what it's about. And I feel like it's okay to read what it's about because it's a romance series. I don't think you have to read them in order. She cannot forget the fire he ignited. In the 3 years since her husband left her, Lady Kate Carhartt has managed to forge a fulfilling life for herself. But when Ned Carhartt unexpectedly returns, she finds her tranquility uprooted and her deepest secrets threatened. Though she has no intention on falling for Ned's charms, Kate can no longer deny the desire that still burns in her heart, or the promise of his love. Ned is determined to regain his wife's trust by using unbridled seduction. But just as Kate surrenders to Ned's passion, her carefully guarded past threatens to destroy her. Now Kate must place her faith on the only man she's ever loved, and the only one who has ever betrayed her. So it is one of her older books, but since she's not really publishing anymore, I think that's all I will probably get. I don't know. I think I don't think if I read this, I would love it. I doubt it. But also, I'm very tempted to read it because I love Courtney Milan. I think she's one of the best romance writers that exists. And I'm very sad that she doesn't really write anymore, or at least publish anymore. I don't know what she's doing in her free time. But I don't know if it's going to be like worth my time to pick it up if I think the chances of me really loving it is high. But also, like, the point of reading is not to give every book 5 stars necessarily, but the point of my personal reading is to find 5-star romances, or not romances, but is to find 5 stars because I love rereading so much. That, like, I don't know, purposely picking something up that I know won't do that, and like I know doesn't have the possibility to. Also, it's an Audible exclusive, so I can't get it from the library. So I think I will just delete this one, call it a loss, and maybe just reread some of my other favorites by Courtney Milan. I love rereading so much. It is the point of reading for me, is like, I want to find all the books to reread. It is the best thing about reading. Like, I do love a new book, but like rereading is where it's at. I went through, so I've been putting all my 5 stars in this shelf. There's 370. I realized I could have even zoomed in more, but there's 375. And I'm like, I need to go through and like make sure I've reread all of them and they're truly 5 stars. And like, I know some people say that stresses them out. They want to know, they don't want to know if an old favorite stands up. And I'm like, I want to know, like, I love rereading, and I want to know that the books I'm recommending to people are like true favorites and stuff. I don't know. Okay. The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. I don't know how I haven't read this yet. I think because I'm just like, if I read it, then I've already read it, and I'm so excited about reading it that I don't want it to be read. Which is so silly, because then I could just reread it. I did read The Voyage of the Beagle and gave it 4 stars. I really liked it. So I'm pretty sure this will either be a 4 or a 5-star. I don't think there's any world where it's not one of those two things. And even if it's not, like, it's definitely going to be, like, so interesting to read, because I've read so many books that reference it, that are inspired by it, that I don't know, it's just changed the world. But also I'm like, I just like, if I read it, then I can't like look forward to reading it anymore. It's so silly. I just need to read it. I'm not gonna read what it's about because I think we all know what it's about, but I wish there was like a good cover, a good edition of this one. I feel like that cover wasn't very good. Maybe this cover is okay. Maybe I'll change it to something else later. Okay, science nonfiction is what it is. I love science nonfiction so much. And this feels like a spring summer kind of book. Okay, The Botany of Desire, A Plant's Eye View of the World. Michael Pollan. I've read from before, I think, or I have books on my TBR by him. I just have books on my TBR by him. The Omnivore's Dilemma, A Natural History of 4 Meals, I have on my TBR. Really? I haven't read by him? I could have, if you had asked me if I've read by him before, I would have said yes. So that's a little embarrassing, but that's okay. We're going to see what this one's about. Every school child learns about the mutually beneficial dance of honeybees and flowers. The bee collects nectar and pollen to make honey, and in the process spreads the flower's genes far and wide. In The Botany of Desire, Michael Pollan ingeniously demonstrates how people and domesticated plants have formed a similarly reciprocal relationship. He masterfully links 4 fundamental human desires: sweetness, beauty, intoxication, and control, with the plants that satisfy them: the apple, the tulip, marijuana, and the potato. In telling the stories of 4 familiar species, Pollan illustrates how the plants have evolved to satisfy humankind's most basic yearnings. And just as we've benefited from these plants, we have also done well by them. So who is really domesticating whom? That sounds so fascinating. I'm very, very interested in reading that. It is... Okay, so I'm just going to put it in science nonfiction. And I think spring and summer sounds good to read that. I really want to read that now that I know what it's about. I was thinking about this. I love how, like, many different genres I read. I was thinking about, like, my last several reads and how it, like, really shows the dichotomy of my reading. And then also, like, my current reads are Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher, which is like a horror fantasy, and then also like a fantasy horror puzzle book mystery thing. So those are my 2 current reads. And then my last reads were a classic, a sci-fi, a contemporary romance, like a horror mystery. I love, like, how my reading runs the gambit and how it really is, like, I'm just all over the place with my reading, and how I just love reading a wide variety of things. That makes me very happy. Like, obviously I wouldn't read a wide variety of things if I didn't enjoy it. If I only liked one genre, I would only read one genre. But anyway. Okay, Portrait of a Scotsman. So I've read the first 2 books in this series, A League of Extraordinary Women. I gave 4 stars to the first one, Bringing Down the Duke, and A Rogue of One's Own. Gave 5 stars. There's 4 books in the series. Looks like people didn't really like the last one, which is interesting, because normally you kind of see this, like, increase going up through the series, whereas, like, the first one I would expect like a 3.9, the next one would be 4, this one would be like a 4.1, this would be like a 4.15 or a 4.2 is what I would expect. The fact that this one goes down and then this one goes down even more is a little worrisome, because it's like, even though people were still committed, they didn't think the quality was very good, or the story or whatever. Bringing Down the Duke. When did I read this? 4.5 even. September 2019. Oof. Okay. So September 2019, I was deeply, deeply, deeply depressed at the end of 2019. So I think also the books that I read, like the second half of 2019 into all of 2020, probably the first half or like all of 2021, I think are the books that haven't necessarily stuck in my memory super well, because I was in such a deep depression. If you held a gun to my head and asked me to tell you what this book was about, I could not. I think maybe if I read the summary, I'd be able to, like, maybe tell you a little bit, but I do not know what it's about. The rising women's suffrage movement. Okay. So she's trying to get men to kind of like sponsor them. I think I should reread these, but I'm okay continuing on with the series without that. But it's all about women who are suffragettes. All right. Romance, historical fiction, and I feel like I could read this anytime, but I genuinely don't remember what these books are about very well because I was so depressed when I read them. Okay, The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. I have read a few Tessa Dare books. I really liked the first book in this series, but everything else by Tessa Dare I think is really bad. So I don't know if it's worth continuing. The accidental governess, after her livelihood slips through her fingers, I don't know. I think I've kind of like lost interest in trying to read this. I know people did really like it, and I mean, I even really liked the first book, but I've also really hated her books that other people liked. I don't know. I don't know if I care enough. What else has she come out with? And she hasn't published since 2020. I was thinking that. I was like, I haven't heard anybody even talk about Tessa Dare since like 2020. So that makes sense. I think I'm okay with letting this one go. That feels crazy to delete that. Okay, Psy Changeling, Visions of Heat by Nalini Singh. Okay, so I read the first book. I didn't really like it that much. I think I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars, Slave to Sensation. But people say that it's not really the first couple books aren't as good, and they get a lot better as you go on, and then it's like more the world building and stuff. So I'm okay with not having really liked the first book that much, not really vibed with it, and just pushing forward. I just need to actually do it. So I'm okay reading this. So what I know about this series, I'm not gonna read what this one is because I know I know what it's about. But basically, there's the Psy and the Changeling. The Psy can like read people's emotions, I think, and then the Changelings are shapeshifters, maybe. I don't know, but they hate each other. And then I think a lot of these books are like kind of star-crossed lover type books, I think, but don't quote me on that. But that's what I've heard from other people, and if I'm wrong, you can blame the people that I've heard talk about them before. Okay. Let's see. Fantasy, romance. This does feel very like autumnal, but also I just want to read it whenever. I actually have been very much in the mood to pick up some more like urban fantasies, like paranormal romance. So this would actually be a good thing to pick up. Yeah, I should do that. One Poison Pie by Lynn Cahoon. Featured on BuzzFeed Books. Okay. Mia Malone is starting over in Magic Springs, Idaho, where murder is on the menu. What's a kitchen witch to do when her almost fiance leaves her suddenly single and unemployed? For Mia Malone, the answer is move to her grandmother's quirky Idaho hometown where magic is an open secret and witches and warlocks are mostly welcome. With a new gourmet dinner delivery business and a touch of magic in her recipe, Mia's hopes are high. Even when her ex's little sister, Christina, arrives looking for a place to stay, Mia takes it in stride. But her first catering job takes a distasteful turn when her client's body is found stabbed and stuffed under the head table. Mia's shocked to learn that she's a suspect, and even more so when she realizes she's next on a killer's list. With Christina, along with Mia's meddling grandma in the mix, she'll have to find out which of the town's eccentric residents has an appetite for murder before this fresh start comes to a sticky end. Okay, so I haven't read anything by Lynn Cahoon before. I don't think. She writes a lot, though, like an alarming amount. Like 5 books a year? I think it sounds fun, but I don't know. I don't think it will blow my socks off. And okay, so the House of the Cerulean Sea. I DNF'd it at 90% because I was just really goddamn bored and just was like, I can't put myself through another second of this book. But the thing I didn't know at the time and why I would disrecommend it now is that TJ Klune has said it's based on the 60s sweep, or that he was inspired by the 60s sweep. And if you don't know what that is, it's where you probably know what it is, but they took indigenous children away from their families and rehoused them to kill the Indian in them. And people who are indigenous find it very horrific and distasteful that he took their history and something that's like a very traumatic, awful part of their history and turned it into this cute little cozy fantasy. That kind of the message ends up being it's good that they were taken from their families and they end up having a found family. So that's why I would not recommend it now. But the reason I DNF'd it when I read it, which was years before I found this out, was that I was really fucking bored. So I would not recommend it still, but for a different reason. The 60s scoop. Sorry, not the 60s sweep. You know what I'm talking about, though. So here's something on Reddit about it. But I mean, if you want to read it, I will not. I mean, it's so beloved, and almost everybody who's ever read it really loves it. So if you want to read it and stuff, like I understand. You found out this morning that author TJ Klune, the 60 scoop. I don't know why I was saying the wrong thing. I'm sorry. My brain. Is an inspiration for his book's plot in which magical children are abducted and placed in state-run orphanage. But there's probably links to this, and I'm sure if you look it up, you can find specific links. but I looked more into it at the time when I found out about it, probably in 2023 is when I found out about it. And from then I have told people about it whenever they've asked. But I also did then try to read his book with the green cover. Oh god. I don't know. It has over 1 million ratings, such a high rating. Like, I can't blame anybody for being interested in it and stuff. Oh, this is still on my want to read. I was not aware of that. I am going to delete that. I am not interested in it. In the Lives of Puppets, I also tried to read, and I really, really hated the writing. And I think that was around the time I found out, and I was just like, okay, so he's really not the author for me, too. But I have become a TJ Klune hater since then. Let's delete this one right now. I had no idea it was still on my TBR. It definitely is not. I wonder if it shows, if I look it up, I wonder if it will show when I added it. Because I'm like, how long has this been sitting here? And I didn't know. Was it after the fact and I just like didn't realize? Around, yeah, January 2023. So I must have added it, found out, tried that other book, like blah blah blah, and then never realized and didn't delete it. Goodbye, DJ Klune. Ugh. Yeah. And I feel like very few people talk about it. A lot of people were talking about it in 2023. I don't know if that's when the interview came out where he said that was his inspiration. But I heard a lot of people talk about it at the time, and I was like, what the fuck? And so then I never wanted to read more. But yeah. Ugh, I'm glad I looked him up rather than just doing that. But yeah, that's why I DNF'd it at 90%, because it was boring. I was like, I cannot read another second of this. Even though I think it was like less than an hour left of the audiobook, I was just like, oh, no, it's not worth my mental health. Ruth Goodman, The Domestic Revolution. Yeah, no, that was a great question. I'm glad you asked. I'm like, I'm a TJ Klune hater, and I will tell anybody that about that. Like, even people who really love it, I argue with them, and I'm like, but he bases off indigenous tragedy. So okay. I think I probably do want to read this because I like Ruth Goodman. I've read a couple of her books, so I think I'm pretty much just interested in reading any of them. Okay, there's none that have come out since, though. The Domestic Revolution. A large black cast iron range, glowing hot, the kettle steaming on top. Provider of everything from bathwater and clean socks to morning. It's a nostalgic icon of a Victorian way of life. I don't think that's a sentence that makes sense. But it is far more than that. It's a book, social historian, and TV presenter Ruth Goodman tells the story. In this book. Well, okay. She's likable. You watch her on YouTube. Yeah, my mom has said that too. That she's really liked her like TV show that she's been on and stuff. I've never seen anything that she's in though. I've only read her books. So that's good to know that she is a good vibe. Because I'm like, I've really enjoyed her books, but I don't really know anything about her. And I'm not even going to try to read this because I think that it's not written very well, probably. The description, for some reason, is frazzling my brain. But we're just going to say it's an other nonfiction because it's like history. What kind of vibe is it, though? I think it's just like an all-time vibe. I feel like it could be like a cozy read for the winter or just like a fun read for the summer. The Domestic Revolution. Ugh. I love women. Okay. The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. This is a book that it's like I want to love so much that I'm afraid to read it. And that's why I have not read it. It's like I'm afraid that I won't love it, that I haven't read it. A prim and proper lady thief must save her aunt from a crazed pirate and his dangerous, charming henchman in this fantastical historical romance. Cecilia Basingwaite is the ideal Victorian lady. She's also a thief. And like other members of the Wisteria Society crime sorority, she flies around England drinking tea, blackmailing friends, and acquiring treasure by interesting means. Sure, she has a dark and traumatic past, but an overbearing aunt and all things considered, it's a pleasant existence until the men show up. Yeah, I know I really, really want to read it. So it's romance, fantasy, historical fiction, a mystery. Let's put it in as many categories as possible so it will come up as much as possible when I'm looking for something to read. And then maybe I'll finally read it. It feels very spring and summer because of the cover, but also because of the mystery and fantasy, it could be autumnal. So let's put it in those. I think the only thing it doesn't really feel is wintry, so I'll leave it out of that one for now. Oh, I want to read it so badly. It's literally been on my TBR since it came out. This book came out June 21st, 2021 is the first publication date. It's been on my TBR since August 2021. So I'm like, since it came out, I added it to my TBR and then never read it. Ugh. God. Don't you just hate yourself sometimes? Like, why didn't I read this? Okay. The Woman They Could Not Silence. One Woman, Her Incredible Fight for Freedom, and the Men Who Tried to Make Her Disappear by Kate Moore. Kate Moore is the author of The Radium Girls. I think I was a little hesitant to read this book because I really liked The Radium Girls so much, and then I was like, maybe it wasn't as good as I remembered. So I was a little bit wary of picking this one up, but I just reread The Radium Girls last year and I loved it. It was even better than I remembered. So I think this one will also be very good. But I don't know what it's about, that being said. So let's read what it's about. 1860, as the clash between the states rolls slowly to a boil. Is it rolls or royals? I don't know. I would have thought that would be royals, but I guess rolls slowly to a boil. Elizabeth Packard, housewife and mother of 6, is facing her own battle. The enemy sits across the table and sleeps in the next room. Her husband of 21 years is plotting against her because he feels increasingly threatened by Elizabeth's intellect, independence, and unwillingness to stifle her own thoughts. So Theophilus makes a plan to put his wife back in her place. One summer morning, he has her committed to an insane asylum. The horrific conditions inside the Illinois State Hospital in Jacksonville, Illinois, are overseen by Dr. Andrew McFarlane, a man who will prove to be even more dangerous to Elizabeth than her traitorous husband. But more disturbingly is that Elizabeth is not the only sane woman confined to the institution. There are many rational women on her ward who tell the same story. They've been committed not because they need medical treatment, but to keep them in line. Conveniently labeled crazy, so their voices are ignored. No one is willing to fight for their freedom, and disenfranchised both by gender and the stigma of their supposed madness, they cannot possibly fight for themselves. But Elizabeth is about to discover that the merit of losing everything is that you have nothing to lose. Sounds great. Oh, I'm so excited to read this. I'm glad I think I would have still been interested in reading this, but I'm really glad I reread Radium Girls before I got to this point, because now I'm like, oh, I know the writing and the research are gonna be on point. I was just seeing if she's come out with more stuff. No, but I think it's because she puts a lot of research into her books. So, I'm so excited. Oh, this is gonna be so good. Okay, so nonfiction other, and I feel like it feels like a good all-time read. I feel like it could be autumnal. I feel like it could be wintry, but then I feel like the claustrophobia that I'm sure you're gonna feel in it could also work for summer when it's like really hot and you can feel like confined and stuff. I don't know. I feel like it could work for all of it. I cannot believe that I haven't read this book. Ugh, I'm so mad at myself. Eloisa James. So this is the last book in this series. I read all of them as they were published, including the prequel. So all 6 previous books. And then I just didn't read the last book. And I'm like, if I just fucking read the last book, I would have had this series finished. And I just didn't. And then also, I don't even really like this series that much. DNF'd. 3-star, 3-star, 2-star, 4-star, 3-star. I'm like, why am I even reading this goddamn series? Eloisa James, I don't know why I read you sometimes. But I don't know. I'm like, why didn't I just read it when it got published? Eloisa James is an author that I definitely have a very complicated relationship with her books, because I don't really like them, and the narrator is atrocious for her books. They're all by Susan Dennard, I think, and I hate her narration. Like, all her sentences end going up at the end, so every sentence sounds like a question. Very fucking annoying. But for some reason, I just enjoy reading her books, even though I don't really like them that much. Like, there's occasionally a book that I give 4 stars, but I've never given a book like 5 stars. I don't know why I read her. I think it's because, okay, we're doing some deconstructing. We're doing some deconstructing of my mind in this series. It's like, why do I associate sci-fi to winter? Probably because it's one of the first, like, space operas, hard sci-fi books that I read was in winter. Okay, that makes sense. I probably had this little association in the back of the mind for the last like 10 years. I didn't even realize. Okay, why am I very attached to reading Eloisa James, even though I don't like Eloisa James? Not as a person, but I don't like Eloisa James's books. I don't know a single thing about Eloisa James as a person. Probably because she is the first historical romance author that I ever read. She is the author, this is the book, A Kiss at Midnight, that got me into romance. If I hadn't read this book, then maybe I would never have picked up romance. If I hadn't picked up romance, then maybe I would have never deconstructed the very oppressive, bigoted, hateful, awful religion that I was a part of. Like, I think just like a lot of things came from me reading her books that was like a snowball effect. And the only reason I picked up this book is because I'm so into fairy tales, and it's a Cinderella retelling. This whole series, or fairy tale series, or fairy tale retellings. So I think maybe this is the reason why it's like I keep coming back to Eloisa James. I really wanted her books to work for me, and time after time, I mean, we can go through like the ratings, is that I'm giving them 1 and 2 stars, 3 usually at most, but I'm just very attached to the idea of them because I think they're the thing that kicked me off in romance, and that was a life-changing thing, maybe even a life-saving thing, that it got me to a much better part of my life, even though I don't like her books. So I think it's interesting. Like 2 star, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, and then back to, oh, go away. I don't know, whatever this is. 3 star, 3 star, 3 star, 3 star, 2 star, another 4 star, 3 star, 4 star, 4 star. So I'm like, there's occasional 1 star. This is one of the worst romance books I've ever read in my whole life. Potent Pleasures. I still think about this book and how bad it is and how much I hate it. 1 star, same with this one. I still think about how much I hated this book. So 1 star. I also think about how much I hated this book. I think I just need to cut my losses. There are some Eloisa James books I am still interested in, but I think I just need to not pick up her books anymore for the most part. The books that I am still interested in are the Desperate Duchesses series, because I think the time period is incredibly interesting. It's like 1750s maybe, I'm not quite sure, but I love that she really commits to the bit, and that everybody's wearing these like really lavish powdered wigs and beauty patches and like all these things. I just want to read a few more. Maybe I won't even finish the series, but I at least want to read the next book in the series and see how I feel. And I've liked everything in this series except for the first one, and I think if I read it now, I might like it more. But I think the characters are so unlikable for the most part that I was just very astounded. But I think I would like it more now, because I think I would go in knowing that it's like people having affairs with each other and like being like very messy. It's kind of like soap opera-y almost. And I think going into it, I would like it more. So this is a series I'm willing to continue on with. Sorry, this was so much talking, but it's really hard to delete this, especially since it's the last book in the series. I'm like, if I just read it, then I would have completed the series. But like, it's not worth it, because I don't like Eloisa James, and I really hate the narrator. Susan Dennard can go fuck herself. She's ruined so many books for me. Okay. The Journey of Trees, a story about forests, people, and the future by Zach St. George. Forests are restless. Anytime a tree dies or a new one sprouts, the forest that includes it has shifted. When new trees sprout in the same direction, the whole forest begins to migrate, sometimes at astonishing rates. Today, however, an array of obstacles, humans felling trees by the billions, invasive pests transported through global trade, threaten to overwhelm these vital movements. Worst of all, the climate is changing faster than ever before, and forests are struggling to keep up. A deft blend of science reporting and travel writing, The Journey of Trees explores the evolving movements of forest by focusing on 5 trees: giant sequoia, I don't remember how to say that, sequoia, ash, black spruce, Florida torreya, and Monterey pine. Journalist Zach St. George visits these trees and forests across continents, finding sequoias. Sorry, I don't know why my brain just spazzed out. Sequoias. Okay. Losing their needles in California, fossil records showing the paths of ancient forests in Alaska, domesticated pines for New Zealand, and tender sprouts of bright resistant American chestnuts in New Hampshire. Everywhere he goes, St. George meets lively people on conservation front lines, from ecologists studying droughts to an evolutionary evangelicist who plans to save a dying species. He treks through the woods with activists, biologists, and foresters, each with their own role to play in the fight for an uncertain future of our environment. An eye-opening investigation into forest migration, past and present, the journey of trees examine how we can all help our trees and our planet survive and thrive. That sounds utterly fascinating to me. I really want to read that. Okay. I don't think I've read a ton of nature, like travel writing books, but I've been playing this game called Tiny Bookshop. Let's take a look on Steam. Oh, okay. So, you are new to this town. You have your tiny little, trailer and your car, and you sell books out of the back of it. So you have to, manage inventory. You played that too? And it's so fun. And these are the genres. So crime... let's go back so I can look at it. So crime, drama, fact, fantasy, classic, kids, and travel. I do think it's very interesting. I think it's an interesting choice that travel has its own, genre. I think the genres in general that they chose are utterly fascinating and very infuriating a lot of the time, but I still really, really love the game, and I think it's an utter blast. But it is interesting how much how there's so many travel books in there and stuff, but it's because there's a ton of sailors and people who are specifically interested in travel books. There's a lot of cookbooks in travel as well and stuff. There's a lot of overlaps between the genres, things like that. But it did make me think about how I'm oh yeah, I don't really read travel logs, travel journals, things like that, because a lot of them are this is a travel journal, this is a travel whatever, and I'm I don't really have a lot in that genre that I've read. But I think it's a phenomenal game. I think it's so good. It's very fun. I'm trying to think. I'm what do I want to say about this specifically? I don't know. Nothing much else, I guess. I'm sure there's a lot of things I do want to say about it, but I can't think of them right now. But that just caught my attention. And I was oh, travel writing. I can be all the fishermen. Okay. Dopamine Nation. Finding Balance in the Age of Indulgence by Anna Lembke. This book is about pleasure. It's also about pain. Most important, it's about how to find the delicate balance between the two. and why now more than ever finding a balance is essential. We're living in a time of unprecedented access to high reward, high dopamine stimuli. Drugs, food, news, gambling, shopping, gaming, texting, sexting, Facebooking, Instagramming, YouTubing, tweeting. Oh, this came out in 2021. TikToking. The increasing numbers, variety, and potency is staggering. The smartphone is a modern-day hypodermic needle, delivering digital dopamine 24/7 for a wired generation. As such, we've all become vulnerable to compulsive overconsumption. In Dopamine Nation, Dr. Anna Lembke, psychiatrist and author, explores the exciting new scientific discoveries that explain why the relentless pursuit of pleasures leads to pain and what to do about it. Condensing complex neuroscience to easy to understand metaphors, Lemke illustrates how finding contentment and connectedness means keeping dopamine in check. The lived experiences of her patients are the gripping fabric of her narrative. Their riveting stories of suffering and redemption give us all hope for managing our consumption and transforming our lives. I think it would be perfectly fine to read this, but honestly, I don't really love reading self-help books, and I think I would get more out of not reading it than reading it at this point in my life. So I'm okay to delete that one. Queens of Animation, the untold story of the women who transformed the world of Disney and made cinematic history by Natalia Holt. I have read part of this when it first came out. I probably read the first 10-15%. I was just struggling to get into it at the time, so I put it down. But I would be interested in picking it back up for sure. In the Queens of Animation, best-selling author Natalia Holt recounts the dramatic stories of an incredibly influential group of women who have slipped under the radar for decades, but have touched all of our lives. These women infiltrated the all-male dominated domain of the Disney studios and used early technologies to create the rich artwork and iconic storylines that would reach millions of viewers across generations. Over the decades, while battling sexism, domestic abuse, and workplace harassment, these women also fought to influence the way female characters are depicted to young audiences. Based on extensive interviews and exclusive access to archival and personal documents, the Queens of Animation tell the story of their vital contribution to Disney's golden age and their continued impact on animated filmmaking, culminating in the record-shattering Frozen, Disney's first female-directed full-length feature film. I didn't know that Frozen was Disney's first female-directed full-length feature film. That makes sense why it was so popular. Okay, yeah. So I think I did try to read some of it back in 2021. I guess it came out in 2019, but I tried to read some of it, and then I always was like, I want to come back to this. So I'll add it to history or nonfiction other, and then I guess it feels wintry and springy to me. All right. Being hospitable. Okay. By Mika James. Okay. Some house guests are more enticing than others. Kiki Jenkins knows that opening her home to her best friend's younger sister means giving up some solitude. What she doesn't expect is for her new roommate to become temptation in the form of novelty, panties, and flirty innuendos. But Charlie is off limits for several reasons. Charlie Graham wants to be seen as more than her brother's little sister, and she wants Kiki to do the scene. Her new internship provides the perfect opportunity. Plan in motion, she's not going to let their close living quarters go to waste. The arrangement is supposed to be temporary, but as they grow closer, a permanent change of address might be in order. Yeah, so it's just a little novella, only 70 pages. I feel like I heard about this from Riley. Yes, I did. It looks like Chelsea also read it, though. And yeah, this has been on my wish list for so long. Ugh, okay. I definitely want to read it. LGBT. I feel like we haven't added an LGBT book for so long, which is so sad. Romance. LGBT. The initiation. Oh, a dark romance. Okay, Nikki Sloan. Have I read anything by Nikki Sloan before? Oh, yes. Okay, so Nikki Sloan is the author of the Nashville Neighborhood series, which I've read some of them and enjoyed. I've heard that this book is bad, is what I've heard. I'm going into this book thinking that it will be bad, but sometimes you just want to read bad things. Okay, no one knows how new members are selected to the board of Hale Banking and Holding, but there are rumors of a sordid rite of initiation. Whispers how one woman and 9 men disappear into a boardroom. This time, that one woman will be me. The Hale family owns everything. The 8th largest bank in the world, everything in our town, even the mortgage on my parents' mansion. And now Royce Hale wants to own me. He is charming, seductive, ruthless, but above all, he's the Prince of Lies. My body may tighten with hot white desire under his penetrating gaze, but I refuse to enjoy it. I'll make a deal with the devil to save my family and sell myself to the Hales, but Royce will never own my heart. Okay. Okay, so Chelsea really liked this one. I wonder if that's where I heard about it. Also, Riley really liked it. Oh, I don't know. I think it's hard in this day and age to want to read books about, like, billionaires or ultra millionaires. Like, I don't know. It's not my kind of thing. The Filthy Rich Americans is the name of this series. And that's just not the kind of thing that I enjoy reading. I guess I can understand why some people enjoy it, or why so many people read it and enjoy it, because it's so popular. But I don't think I'll be reading this. Like, I think if I do read it, it would just, like, to like have fun and just, like, read something that I think would be bad. And, like, sometimes that's fun, but I don't think this will be the one to do that with. Alright. I've drunk so much more water. I have to go to the bathroom again. I will be back in a minute. Thanks for hanging on with me. Oh, okay. Has anybody read this book? I know there's only 2 people here, but has anybody read A Clash of Steel by C.B. Lee? I have never read Treasure Island, and this is a Treasure Island remix, but it's fantasy, and it's lesbian. And I'm like, should I read Treasure Island first? Should I just read this? I mean, a lesbian fantasy pirate book sounds good. I don't know. You've never heard of it? Okay. Okay. It's part of these Remix Classic series. It's like YA books. So classics that are retellings for YAs. So I think the ones that I feel like I've seen that are most popular was this one by Tasha Suri. What Souls Are Made Of was Wuthering Heights. This one, Self-Made Boys, which was The Great Gatsby by Anna Marie McLemore. And then Most Ardently by Gabe Cole Nueva. Sorry. Those are the ones that I've heard people talk about the most. And I did try to read this one, and I DNF'd it, the Wuthering Heights one, but they're all different authors, so I don't feel like I got 14%. They're all different authors, though, so like me not getting along with one of them, I don't feel like would affect the others at all. But 2 intrepid girls hunt for legendary treasure on the deadly high seas of this YA remix of the classic adventure treasure novel Island. Classic adventure novel Treasure Island. 1826, the sun is setting on the golden age of piracy, and the legendary dragon fleet, the scourge of the southern China Sea, is no more. Its ruthless leader, a woman known only as the head of the dragon, is now only a story. Like the ones... I don't know how to say that. Chang has grown up with all her life. She desperately wants to prove her worth, especially to her mother, a shrewd businesswoman who never seems to have enough time for Chang. Her father is also only a story. Dead at sea before Chang was born, her single memento of him is a pendant she always wears, a simple but plain piece of gold jewelry. But the pendant's true nature is revealed when a mysterious girl named An steals it, only to return it to Chang in exchange for help in decoding the tiny map scroll hidden inside. Ooh! The revelation that Chang's father sailed with the dragon fleet and tucked away the secret changes everything. Rumor has it that legendary head of the dragon has had one last treasure, the plunder of 1,000 ports, that for decades had only been a myth, a fool's journey. Chang is convinced that this map could lead to the fabled treasure. Captivated by the thrill of the adventure, she joins on with her motley crew off in pursuit of the island. But the girls soon find that the sea, and especially those who sail it, are far more dangerous than the legends led them to believe. I know I'm not a huge YA reader anymore, but that does sound really good. Is this Sarah? Who is this? No, okay. Okay, so, and CW really liked it. Okay, yeah, I definitely want to try it. It sounds really good. I think the only things that are a little off-putting is, I'm like, should I read Treasure Island first? But honestly, this is probably way better than Treasure Island. And because I've heard that Treasure Island can be kind of dry, and that it's YA. But sometimes I still do really enjoy and even give 5 stars to YA. I just have to be really selective with them. So I'm like, if those are the only 2 things that I'm like feel kind of iffy with, I definitely want to try it. It says fantasy. I wonder if there's actually fantasy in it, but I'm still going to put it under fantasy. So fantasy, historical fiction, queer. It sounds so good. It sounds like it would be really fun, especially for the summer. Imagine reading this in July, like next to the pool or something. Or next to the ocean, even better. Paula Santiago and the River of Tears by Taylor K. Medja. Space-obsessed 12-year-old Paola, and her 2 best friends, Emma and Dante, know the rule. Stay away from the river. It's all they've heard since a schoolmate of theirs drowned a year ago. Pao is embarrassed to admit that she has been told to stay away for even longer than that, because her mother is constantly warning her about La Llorona, the wailing ghost woman who wanders the banks of the Gila at night, looking for young people to drag into its murky depths. Hating her mother's humiliating superstitions and knowing that she and her friends would never venture into the water, Powell organizes a meetup to test. Oh no! A meetup to test out her new telescope near the Gila, since it's one of the best stargazing spots. But when Emma never arrives and Powell sees a shadowy figure in the reeds, it seems like maybe her mom was right. Powell has always relied on hard science and makes sense of the world, but to find her friend, she will have to enter the world of nightmares, which includes a natural mist, mind-bending monsters, and relentless spirits controlled by a terrifying force that defies both logic and legend. God, I can't read. That sounds really good. Rick Riordan's on my fucking shit list, but it's not this author's fault. So Gavin really liked it. Okay. CW liked it but didn't love it. Okay. I think I still want to give it a try. It sounds really good, and I mean, I can always DNF it if I'm not vibing with it. So, fantasy, I think that would be the only thing it fits into. Okay, I Married a Lizard Man by Regine Abel. Sorry, I was just laughing at scaly, grumpy, but oh so cuddly. This is another book that I've been really wanting to read for a long time, but basically one of my really good friends really loved this one and hyped it up to me so much that I got really afraid to read it. I was like, what if I don't like it? And then you'll be mad at me. Well, not mad at me, because she's not the kind of person who would be offended if I didn't like one of her books, but I just didn't want to let her down. So but I know I'm gonna read it like either way. But she said I'm not gonna read what it's about because I know I'm gonna read it, but she said it's very soft, that she likes that their relationship feels very developed, that she liked the connection between the characters and like they're talking and like everything like that. And I think I would like it too. And most people were saying that they still really liked it. Like, everybody's given it like 3 or 4 stars. And that the plot is good. Okay. Romance, sci-fi. Yeah. I know I should still be... I remembered that. I'm like, I should still be reading the thing, even though I should still be reading the plots, the summaries, even if I know I want to read it, because that kind of still helps me like get the vibe of the book. But I'm like, I know she's already talked to me about it a lot. I just wonder, like, when do I want to read it? I guess it would be good anytime. Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. I have not watched Arrival. Is that the book that this is, or the movie that is based on this? One of the short stories in here. And I really want to. And I feel like I should read this and then watch that movie. Okay. What if men built a tower from earth to heaven and broke through the heaven's other side? What if we discovered that the fundamentals of mathematics were arbitrary and inconsistent? What if there were a science of naming things that calls life into being from inanimate matter? What if exposure to alien language forever changed our perception of time? What if all the beliefs of fundamentalist Christianity were literally true, and the sight of sinners being swallowed into fiery pits were a routine event in city streets? These are all kinds of outrageous questions posed by the stories of Ted Chiang. Stories of Your Life and Others. And then it got renamed to Arrival. So if you are looking for this book and you can't find it, it might just be called Arrival. I love short story collections. I feel like this will either be a 4 or 5 star for me. And I'm so excited to read it, and I just haven't. And I'm disappointed in myself. This is the theme of this video, of this live stream, is being disappointed that I haven't read these books. Okay, sci-fi, fantasy. Ugh, I especially love a speculative fiction short story collection. I feel like the vibe is winter because of the sci-fi, and then also like spring, maybe even summer. I don't know if I would want to read this in the fall. I feel like there's so many other things I want to read in the fall, but I feel like that's the vibe. And then sci-fi and fantasy. God, I want to read it so much. Okay. I'm genuinely disappointed on myself for not having read some of these books for so long. Okay. The Ballad of Lucy Whipple by Karen Cushman. Karen Cushman is one of my favorite middle grade writers. I've never been disappointed in one of her books. Interesting. Is there only one edition of the audiobook? I was just looking at Ray Bradbury because I was thinking about maybe reading Fahrenheit 451 this month. I don't think that book's actually officially on my TBR, but like I want to read it. I'm interested in like all of his stuff. I hate a dry audiobook. Um, like, when's the last time she published a book? Okay, so she is still, like, sporadically publishing, but it, that was the one you could borrow on Libby. Okay. I want to see what my Libby says. Did you do a deep search? Okay, it looks like there's 2 versions on Libby, but I guess your library maybe doesn't have the other one. One is narrated by Mark Boyette, and one is narrated by Diane Graham. Maybe you could try the sample of the one that they don't own and request it from the library on Libby or something. Or add it to the, like, notify me when this is available, because sometimes they'll buy it for you. Catherine Cushman. Stephen Hoy. He didn't even show up for me. That's so weird. I wonder why on deep search that didn't even come up. Okay, well, there are other editions out there then. Maybe you could request one of those. Oh, I forgot she wrote Graylene's song. I did not like that book. I think I DNF'd it. But not that far in. Oh, I finished it. I said this book was a slog. Okay, never mind. Ignore everything I just said. Karen Cushman is a disappointing author. I'm just kidding. I love you, Karen. I've disliked one book by her. But it was fantasy. Yeah, I've never... Maybe it's because I just want historical books by her. But these books are all not non-fiction. They're all historical fiction for children. So The Midwife's Apprentice, Catherine Called Birdie, Matilda Bone, Alchemy, and Maggie Swan. And they're so fun. I just love a children's book that's just like teaching you, aka children, about the Middle Ages. I think it's a good time. I think it's a vibe. They're just good. I don't know. And this one, she's literally the midwife's apprentice, and it's just like you're learning about like the different like things that they do and use and stuff in the time. Catherine Called Birdie, I don't remember as well as some of the other ones, but she's like a young girl and she's like writing in her journal about like the time period that she's living in. Alchemy and Maggie Swan was very fun. She's like, I think her dad's like an alchemist or something, and so she's like learning about it a little bit, but she's not like actually the alchemist. And then Matilda Bone is the one that I've read probably like 5 to 10 times. I'm not sure how many times, but I read it a lot as a kid. Borrowed it from the library constantly. And it's about this girl who goes and works for a bone setter. So she's learning the medical quarter of medieval village to Blood and Bone Alley, home of leech, barber surgeon, and apothecary, and to assist Red Peg the bone setter. And so she's just like learning how to like treat patients. And I love that Karen Cushman doesn't put modern values onto medieval stuff. So it's like there's like a time when she's like learning about the humors, and like she's like with this guy and he's like, look at all these different colors of piss, and they're like looking at them to study, and he's like, look at all the humors and blah blah blah. And it's like, it's just not like trying to like cushion things for our modern sensibilities and stuff. And it's like, I love it. I learned so much as a kid, but it's still very funny. It's still very accessible. Yeah, I really like it. Also, this is one of my favorite artists of all time, Tracy Shart Hyman. So, yeah. Anyway, I really, really recommend Catherine Cushman. If I could recommend one book by her, it's Matilda Bone. It's so funny. It's so good. And I think it's just like an accessible way for like, I mean, I'm still obsessed with like medieval stuff and learning about that. And this is definitely like one of the gateway books that got me interested in it. So, Lucy Whipple. Never read it, but The Ballad of Lucy Whipple. In 1849, a 12-year-old girl who calls herself Lucy is distraught when her mother moves the family from Massachusetts to a small California mining town. Oh, isn't this perfect? Because I just moved from Massachusetts to a small California mining town. Not really, but I did just move from Massachusetts to California. There, Lucy helps run a boarding house and look for comfort in books while trying to find a way to return home. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I will probably enjoy it since it's by Catherine Cushman, and I've always liked her historical books. And this is my plea that if you enjoy it feels like a very spring summer book, doesn't it? It's like on the prairie and stuff. I mean, not the prairie because it's California, but you know, like being a cowgirl. If I don't even know what I was gonna say, but I'm sure I'll like it. I think the chances of me liking it are high. But if you like children's books, if you like middle grade books, and you like humorous books, and you like historical fiction or are interested in the Middle Ages whatsoever, I think you could enjoy Matilda Bone. Actually, I really feel like rereading Matilda Bone now. It's just such a vibe. I love Matilda Bone. It's such a good book. Okay. I just realized I haven't been making sure I've been adding any of these to classics, but I'm like, they've all been really new releases for the most part. On the Origin of Species is a classic. I didn't add it to classic. I was like, but most of these have been like 2020, 2021 releases. And this is where we started. 2019, 2020, 2020. Yeah, okay. For the purposes of my cataloging here, I'm categorizing anything a classic that's over 50 years old. So, modern classics count. Okay, The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. I haven't read anything by him. According to my classifications, this would be a classic. I didn't realize how freaking old this book was. Damn. It would just be a classic barely. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in trying some of his books. Okay. The Selfish Gene caused a wave of excitement among biologists and the general public when it was first published in 1976. Its vivid rendering of a gene's eye view of life in lucid prose gathered together the strands of thought about the nature of natural selection into a conceptual framework with far-reaching implications for our understanding of evolution. Time has confirmed its significance. Intellectually rigorous yet written in non-technical language, The Selfish Gene is widely regarded as a masterpiece of science writing, and its insights remains as relevant today as on the day it was published. Absolutely. Yeah, I really want to read that. I do think it's funny. I'm thinking of this as well. A lot of the people in that game that I was talking about, Tiny Bookshop, are always like, I want a nonfiction book, but don't dare give me a pop science book. I hate them. And they would hate this book. They would get mad if you recommended this book to them. Oh, that game pisses me the fuck off. I can't even tell you. Okay, let's go back to it. I have more things I want to say now that I've had some time to steam about it on Steam. Okay, I'm trying to think. I'm like, what were some really good recommendations that I gave that the person got mad at me about? They wanted a book about with fairy tales or folklore or whatever. They're like, give me a book about folklore, and I recommended Dealing with Dragons because I was like, this book is chock full of fairy tale references. You can barely make it 2 pages without a reference to some kind of fairy tale or folklore. And they were like, I don't see how this has anything to do with folklore. And I was like, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. You were stupid, and I hate you. I got so mad. I mean, not really. I kept playing, but I was furious. So in this game, you're recommending books to people, and they'll say, do you have a book like this? And then you find a book that matches. But they're stupid. And sometimes I would come up with the best recommendation. It was so perfect. And then they'd be like, I don't see how that fits at all. Or ew, this doesn't fit. And I'm like, you're stupid. This is literally exactly what you wanted. Oh, I'm trying to think of another one that really pissed me off. Because I've just been playing this over the last couple weeks. Somebody asked for a literary thriller, and I was like, oof, that's a little hard. A literary fiction, not a literary fiction thriller. And I'm like, that's a little hard because a lot of the mysteries and crime books and are more popcorny and stuff. They're not really literary fiction. And then I saw Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. And I was like, oh, perfect. It's literary fiction-ish, but also in the literal description of the book, it said it's a thrilling blah 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 was in the description of the book. And I was like, if Yellowface isn't a literary fiction thriller, what is? I haven't read it, but I felt like I ate with that recommendation. They asked for a literary fiction thriller. The book selection in that game is so limited. I was like, what more do you want from me with a literary fiction thriller? I don't know what else to give you. And I saw Yellowface, and I was so proud of myself, and I gave it to her, and she's like, I don't see what's thrilling about this, or I don't see what's literary about this, one of those two. And I could have screamed. I was so mad. I stomped into Christopher's office, and I was like, you will not believe what this stupid fucking character in this stupid fucking game just said. And he was just like, yeah, that's really annoying. I was like, that was such a good recommendation. I was like, I can't believe they just shot that down. You come up with a better one. Ugh. Anyway. So that's my rant about this game, is that I feel like this is good for like a mid base book lover. Because I feel like if you love books too much, if you know books too much, if you're too invested in books, that it's very frustrating at times because you like know the books better than the programmers of the games do. And I feel like it can be frustrating, but it's still a great game, and I've still like put a lot of time into it, and I still really love the game. I haven't quite finished it, but I think I'm close. I think it's a great game, but I think you have to not like be super obsessive about like knowing everything about like every book like I am. I tend to be, because then I'm like, you're stupid and you should take this recommendation. Okay, anyway, yeah, like it fits perfectly and you're stupid and you just don't know as much about me. Yes, it's very subjective from the dev's perspective. And it's like, I'm sure they haven't read every book that they programmed into the game. Which is perfectly fine. But then it's very frustrating when you're like, I've read the book, I know. If it was in person, you would take the recommendation because I'd be able to explain to you. The game just didn't know. And it feels very frustrating in the moment because then you don't get your bonus and you don't get the thing, and ugh. And you want to scream. Ugh. Okay. Anyway, there's my rant. But that yellow face one, I was so mad. Ugh. I would read this any season, The Selfish Gene. Have Spacesuit. Oh my gosh, shoot. Have Spacesuit Will Travel by Robert A. Heinlein. I'm not really interested in a lot of his books, but I remember Kayla read this from Books and Lala a few years ago and really loved it, and it's been on my list since then. Okay, but I don't really remember what it's about. Kip from Midwest Centerville, USA, works the summer before college as a pharmacy soda jerk and wins an authentic stripped-down spacesuit in a soap contest. Oh my god. And wins an authentic stripped-down spacesuit in a soap contest. He answers a distress radio call from Pee-wee, scrawny ragdoll clutching genius aged 11. With the comforting cop mother thing, three-eyed tripod worm faces kidnap them to the moon and Pluto. What the fuck even is this description? Okay, well, I want to read it. It's interesting that it says young adult. I had no idea that it had tendencies to be viewed that way. So that's interesting to know. I'm definitely interested in reading it, although I feel like I've heard problematic things about this author, and I think it's kind of probably one of those... I don't know. I feel like I've heard iffy things about this author, but also he's dead, so I don't think it really matters. Science fiction, fun, and it's also a classic. There we go. I feel like, again, like winter because it's sci-fi, but then also spring summer because it's like adventure-y and fun and like a romp. I will leave it out of autumn because there's so many other books I always want to read in autumn. I won't categorize it under that. Okay, Lachlan's by Robert Jackson Bennett, another book I'm very upset with myself about not having read yet. Okay, so I've given the first 2 books 4 stars. This is the 3rd book in the Foundryside trilogy. Foundryside is one of those books where it's nigh perfect for me. If there was just one thing, one section that was a little different, it would be 5 stars. I really don't remember book 2 though at this point. Like, I've read Foundryside a couple times. I think 2 times, maybe 3. I mean, I can check. I think it's 2 times though. Really, really like it. Remember it very well, I would say. But I do not. Yeah, 2 times. Okay. 2018, 2019. There's a romance in it that's underdeveloped, but I really like it. Don't remember this one, and it's been so long that I'm like, I don't feel like I could just read this one. I feel like I need to reread the first 2 at this point. Just really disappointing because I'm like, if I just read it after I read the second one. Actually, I think I read the second one right after it came out though, so I couldn't have read this one. But I'm like, even if I just read this one right when it came out, then it would have been fine. So a little annoyed at myself about that, but that's okay. I'm still gonna put it on my list. I really want to finish the series. I think it could be an all-time favorite series for me because, like, I think a 4-star series is a really good series. Like, that's super solid. It's fantasy. It's LGBT. It's, I don't know. I guess it has a romance. Did it say that? No? Okay. Fantasy, LGBT. It says science fiction. I don't know. I'm not gonna put that. And I need to goddamn reread the series now, which is so annoying. Okay. I really liked the first book in this series, Shadow Weaver. It is like mildly horror, but it's not like super, super horror. It's just a little scary. It's only a duology, which is nice. I don't remember it super well though, but I remember really enjoying it. I feel like I might need to reread it though to read the second one, which again, it's like, ugh, I wish I just didn't wait so long in between books. I wish I was better at binging series. Eek. Okay, fantasy, fantasy. This one's not rated as horror at all, but the first one is, so I'm just gonna put this one under horror. How many books are we at? Alright, so we've deleted 11 books today, which I feel like is really good. I think I'll do a few more. Maybe end at the hour. Do like 15 more minutes. Okay. Jennifer Murdley's Toad. I really like Bruce Scoville. I think he's super funny. This is the third book in the series, though, so I'm like, I already know I'm gonna read it. I already know the vibes, but this book is about, or the series is about, this like magic shop. I didn't really care for the first book, but I've read so many of his books that I'm like, I'm okay with DNFing a few or not liking a few of them. But yeah, all of his books are like, I would say they're a little bit younger than middle grade, like elementary school books. And they're all very like humoristic and stuff. Or humorous. I don't know why I said that like that. Also, I realized both of these need to go in oldest sequels. This needs to go in oldest sequels. Okay. Sweetest in the Gale. Okay, so I read the first two books in this series. There's something about Marysburg, and I really liked them. I do really like Olivia Dade. I just kind of, I think I just really got burnt out on contemporary romances. And I'm not interested in At First Bite at all. I'd never even heard of this one, and somehow it's her most popular book or story. And I didn't like this one. So I think I'm gonna put off reading any of her newer stuff, but I'm okay with reading this one and then kind of seeing where we're at. But Teach Me, and then I also really liked the spoiler alert, the first two books. I didn't like the third book though. So I'm not going to read what this one's about because I know I'm okay with reading it. I'm interested in this author and the series. But yeah, just a contemporary romance. I like that her books have all like plus size main characters and that it's very like, I don't know, just normalized. I hate how even though most of the people in America are not skinny, everybody in books is skinny. It doesn't make any sense. So I enjoy reading about people who look like me or look closer to me than any of these other books. Okay, Well Matched by Jen DeLuca. I feel like this might be one I should let go. I don't know. Maybe I should. Oof, it's hard. Because I didn't like one of the books in this series. It's book 3. One was a hit, one was a miss. Let's read what this one's about. Single mother April Parker has lived in Willow Creek for 12 years with a wall around her heart. On the verge of being an empty nester, she's decided to move on from her quaint little town and ask her friend Mitch for his help with some home improvement projects to get her house ready to sell. Mitch Malone is known for being the life of every party, but mostly for the attire he wears to the local Renaissance fair, a kilt and not much else, that shows off his muscled form to perfection. While he agrees to help April, he needs a favor too. She's pretending to be his girlfriend at an upcoming family dinner. I do like fake dating, so that he can avoid lectures about settling down and having a more serious career than high school coach and gym teacher. Okay. April reluctantly agrees, but when dinner turns into a weekend trip, it becomes hard to tell what's real and what's been just for show. And when the weekend ends, it's so must their fake relationship. accidentally in love rom-com filled with Renaissance fair, flower crowns, kilts, corsets, and sword fights. Okay, so the first book I gave 4 stars, and the second book I DNF'd, but I rated it 1 star. I don't rate DNFs anymore, but for a while I did because I was reading and DNFing so many books. And books that I really, really hated, pissed me off, made me so angry, and I DNF'd because I found them very, like, problematic, or, I don't know, like, that I really, really hated. I DNF'd and gave 1 star, and then books that I just found very boring or I just wasn't interested in, I DNF'd and gave 2 stars, so that was a 1 star DNF. I'm like, oh, this book made me mad. I think I'm okay to let this one go. I think it would be a perfectly fine series to keep going in, but I think at this point in time, I'm just interested in other series and other books and other authors more. I am interested in seeing what else Jen DeLuca has written, though, because I feel like I've heard her name. Oh, yeah. And Haunted Ever After. I did read that in August-ish of 2024. I didn't rate it, not because I didn't read it and finish it, but because I genuinely don't remember what I thought about it. I found it very forgettable. So maybe I'm just gonna let Jen DeLuca not be the author for me. And then also, I'm not at all interested in the sequel. Okay. Yeah, let's let this one go. That feels good. Getting another book off the TBR. Okay, Exodus of Gnomes by Demi Harper. I really loved the first book in this series. I'm sad I haven't continued on. The first book is God of Gnomes, and then the second book is Exodus of Gnomes. So this is lit RPG kind of book. It's the only books they've ever written and published. But it's like, where? Yeah, they're like, it's so underread. It has less than 1,000 ratings. I'm like, nobody has read this book, and it's, but I'm pretty sure that's like the genre is like lit RPG. But it's about this entity. Corey finds himself reborn as a god core, a sentient crystal with unusual powers. And his new worshippers, a colony of incompetent gnomes, scrouching out an existence in their underground grotto. So he ends up having to, like, guide them and help them, like, not go extinct. And then also they're getting, like, invaded by kobolds, and it was fun, it was funny, it had like action, and yeah, they ride badgers. Like, he ends up like helping them go from like barely existing to like a civilization, and like, it was really good time. I really, really enjoyed it. And then I just haven't continued on with the series, which is so sad. And there's only 1 more book. The problem is when I tried to start reading the second book, it was right after I read the first book, and it had like a intense recap of the first book, which I think is great. I love that. So I don't think I need to reread this one in order to read the second one, although I kind of want to because it was so fun. But then I'm not going to read the second one again for a while because I was trying to read it and I was like, it's giving me too much info about the first book. But I think as long as you are putting, I don't know, at least like 6 months in between them, I think that's so helpful, because then you're like, oh great, like I didn't remember all these little details. Either way though, I'm very excited to read this Exodus of Gnomes, and I just have been putting it off for only that reason is the time that I tried to read it, it was too close, and I was like, oh, I remember everything. This is a little boring to get into because it's too much information. But now I feel like I could just, and it also made me put it off because I was like, oh, I can just pick it up whenever because I don't think I'll be lost at all because it will have all the info I need. So fun though. I love this series, or at least the first book. I really want to reread the first book though. I don't want to get in this cycle though where I'm just constantly rereading books though. It's not good. I mean, it is good, but I do also want to finish it and then I can keep rereading them. Devil in Disguise by Lisa Kleypas. I feel like this is the last book in the series. Yeah, so I'm like, if I just read the freaking last book, then the series would be over. It's frustrating that I don't do that. The series has been very hit or miss for me. 3-star, 1-star, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star, and then 5-star. So sometimes it's worth going through a series that you don't like that much, because then you'll find one of your favorite romances of all time. I don't know. I'm gonna finish the series. I want to because I really liked the book before, but I wonder if it's like not worth it picking up Lisa Kleypas anymore because she has been so hit or miss for me. That's a romance and historical fiction. Okay. A Duke Worth Falling For by Sarah McLean. I don't think I've ever read anything contemporary by Sarah McLean. I think I've only read historical, and it's been mostly hit, a few misses, but mostly good. What is this? These Summer Storms by Sarah McLean. With a sharp, sexy novel about wealthy New England families' long overdue reckoning with hidden desires, destructive secrets, and one week that threatens to tear them apart. Absolutely the fuck not. You couldn't pay me to read this book. I mean, you could, but you'd have to pay me a good amount. Oh no. Yeah, I think I've only read her historical stuff, but I've read most of it. 3-star, 1-star, 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 so quite a few misses, but then 4-star, 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 3-star, 2-star, 3-star, 3-star, 4-star, 4-star. So I think I've mostly liked her stuff, but I don't know if I will like her contemporary. And that other contemporary does not sound up my alley at all. Her career this is a Duke Worth Falling For. Her career in tatters, celebrity photographer Leila Rose needs somewhere to regroup and start fresh. Outside the spotlight, there's nowhere better to hide than the English countryside, complete with fluffy sheep, rolling hills, and Max, the stern, sexy farmer who tends them. But the lazy days and lush nights with Max aren't as far from the spotlight as Leia thinks. He isn't a simply a farmer, he's also a duke, young, handsome, and powerful. Yeah, I don't think I want to read this. I think it could be perfectly fine. I just don't think it would be for me anymore. I think if I'd read it in 2022, I think the chances of me liking it would be better. Okay, and then Bombshell by Sarah McLean, one of her current historical fiction series. After years of living as London's brightest scandal, Lady Cecily Talbot has embraced the reputation and the freedom that comes with the title. No one looks twice when she lures a gentleman into the dark gardens beyond a Mayfair ballroom, and no one realizes those trysts are not what they seem. No one, that is, but Caleb Calhoun, who has spent years trying not to notice his best friend's beautiful, brash, brilliant sister. If you ask him, he's been a saint about it, considering the way she looks at him, and the way she talks to him, and the way she felt in his arms during their one ill-advised kiss. Except someone has to keep Cecily from tumbling into trouble during her dangerous late-night escapades. And maybe close proximity is exactly what Caleb needs to get this infuriating, outrageous woman out of his system. But now Caleb is the one in trouble because he's fast realizing that Cecily isn't for forgetting. She's forever, and forever isn't something he can risk. I don't know. While I think I could enjoy this book, and maybe I'll decide I'll go back into a massive historical fiction mood, I don't think I care enough about it to keep it on my TBR for now, so I'm gonna delete it. And if in 5 or 10 years I'm like, I really, really want to read all the historical fiction, I'm gonna go binge the series by Sarah McLean, I will not be surprised, but I don't care about keeping it on my TBR right now. I feel like I'm pretty selective with like what historical fictions I'm picking up at this point, like historical romances I'm picking up at this point. I mean, After the Wedding by Courtney Milan. I know I want to read this one. I love Courtney Milan's, like, I don't know, how her books just have so much depth and stuff. Wow, I'm so articulate. But like that's like Adrian Hunter, the son of a duke's daughter and a black abolitionist, is determined to do whatever his family needs, even posing as a valet to gather information. But it's like, I feel like this is more the kind of historical fiction that I'm interested in reading than just like another like Regency ballroom romance at this point. I definitely want to read this Courtney Milan. Please come back to publishing. I love you so much. Is LGBT? Ooh, yes. Okay. And I think this will be my last one, because I think it's just going to be a quick delete. I read this series when I was younger. Sometimes I still reread them. Very, very attached to this series. It ended in 2010. And then I think after there was like the Netflix movies announced and stuff, she started republishing in it, because it got that revitalization. And I read the novella or whatever, and I did not like it. And then this has just been sitting here, and I don't think I want to continue with this series. I don't think I'm interested in continuing with the series. I do really like this. I definitely think there's it's outdated. I don't think it would be published now. It uses the G slur a lot for Romani people, and I don't like how much they're kind of used as like scapegoat and stuff like that. It's not really, I don't know. I don't necessarily like how some things are handled and some of the wording and stuff, but I still really love the series and have a deep love for it in my heart. And I will probably keep rereading them till the end of time, but I don't think I care enough about continuing on with them. Maybe I'll change my mind the next time I reread the series, but for now, I don't care enough about keeping this on my TBR. Maybe I'll get to the end of my next reread and say, I desperately feel like continuing on, I want more, but I feel like I've always felt okay with how it has ended. So I'm gonna delete this one. And there we go. I feel like I got so much deleted. It was so much productive. And then also not just deleted, but I also cataloged so many more books. Probably like half this page, which is great. Like 50 books. And not 50 books, sorry. I don't know why I said that, not half this page. Probably like a third of the page though. It was like 30 books. And we deleted 15 books off the TBR, which is great. One of them wouldn't have been deleted without Audrey though, so thanks for that. That was helpful. But yeah, this is always good. I like also just getting a chance to read through summaries because I'm really bad at doing that. I go off of like vibes and covers and hearing people talk about things, and I'm not good about reading through the summaries, so it's very good. And I've continued to read some of the oldest ones. This has inspired me to read through some of the oldest books on my series. I've probably moved at least 10 of the oldest books off of here in the past however long since I started doing this, because I've been like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to read that, and then read a bunch of the oldest books, so it's been good. But for now, I'm going to wrap up. I appreciate you hanging out with me, Audrey, and then anybody watching in the replay, I appreciate it as well. Good night. Have a great weekend, and I will see you hopefully soon. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, Audrey.